is Mosepher Spencer from Naus, and we're here today to talk about every sweaty EDH player's favorite topic, kingmaking, and how not to do it, and how to do it. Today I'm joined with the two hosts of Naus. We got Kian or Varlas.
Yo.
We got Adam or Papaphobia.
What's up, everybody?
And one of my other close buddies, Kevin or Tishu.
Howdy, brothers.
Alright, and with that, I'm going to move to the upkeep.
What's going on, everybody? So, we've got a few things to talk about in channel news in the upkeep here. The first of which is pretty exciting, is that I am now officially a part of the MLC.
Hell yeah, Major League Commander.
Yes.
Golf clap emoji.
For those of you that don't know, the MLC is a online tournament that's held by Callahan from the Mind Sculptors that incorporates a bunch of content creators to play competitive REL on Spell Table together. It's really exciting and it's really fun, and you can check out the streams every Saturday on Monarch Media, or you can check out the VODs posted later on the Major League Commander channel. And some other news that we have is also regarding me.
Speaking of Monarch Media.
Yeah, I am now officially one of the newest hires for Monarch Media. I am an on-camera talent, so that means I will be doing interviews.
Wait, you have talent?
No, see, he couldn't win, so he has to do something else.
Oh,
because
gotcha.
he can't
Yes.
play. He can't
Okay.
play anymore.
So you remember
Gotcha.
you know the old saying, like, those who don't like succeed teach others how to? Well, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm
those who can't succeed teach, and those that can't teach
about
Jim.
it. Yeah, basically, yeah. So
or on Reddit.
Yeah, so I'm the newest on-camera talent, so I will be doing interviews, I'll be doing casting, live tournament recaps, and things like that for Monarch Media. So if you guys enjoy listening to me ramble on the podcast, well, you'll get to enjoy listening to me ramble for Monarch now too. So have fun with that. Also, next week is going to be, depending on when this episode comes out, either this week, I think, or next week, we will have a new update to the Decklist database. You can bet your ass that we're going to make an episode about it. We always do a DDB update and analysis, and we're really excited for this update because we think there's going to be a lot of really good new spice added to the database. Some other things coming up. Punt City is a new tournament that's happening in Philly that's being held by Eminence Games. The tournament organizer for Eminence is Mikey from the Miscast. Sorry, I don't know why I blanked on that. Drake and Mikey from the Miscast are a part of Eminence. Same with like Z-Rob and Scoots and all like your favorite cEDH players from like the Reddit community. So that's happening in Philly. It's happening in late August, and I will be there competing. Unfortunately, nobody else from the Naus team is going to be at that tournament, but they will be at another tournament later this year that we also are going to talk about. That one being Ocotoberfest, which has been moved now instead of October to November. But it is the
October got elked.
October got elked, yes.
It became a 3-3
I can't believe they named it Ocotoberfest.
So that tournament, we are all, most of us at least, are planning to attend. Most of us will be competing in it. I will be working the event because I work for Monarch now and they're hosting the event.
Yeah.
So that'll be the weekend before Thanksgiving, and that's going to be probably the biggest cEDH tournament of the later half of the year here, besides Tier 1 Con out in Sweden, which we talked about last week that we are no longer attending. Some other news is that we just started a Patreon. So if you like us that much, give us some money because we would love to keep producing content for you. And that's the best way to directly support us here at Naus. We have custom merch as some tier rewards, and we also have a lot of Discord roles and benefits. Speaking of, join the Discord. We are growing rapidly on Discord. We're up to like 60 people now in our Discord. It's really exciting. We have this really cool community going on. And specifically, if you're from the Wisconsin area, we have a whole half of the Discord dedicated to local tournaments and local games. We have a huge cEDH community in the state that we're from, and we want to help embrace that community and help make it more
accessible.
Yeah, for everybody that's a part of it. So we have like buy, sell, trade. We have tournament news, tournament announcements, giveaways. All that type of stuff is in our Discord.
And then local meetups and stuff that we can start, like as Naus, start organizing cEDH tournaments and start promoting cEDH as like a format.
Yeah, here in Wisconsin, which is, Wisconsin's the birthplace of Magic, and we want to help embrace that and let everyone know that, hey, cEDH exists here, and we want to be a part of it. Yeah. Finally, the last thing that we'd like to talk about is that we're almost at 100 subs. I think at the time of recording this episode, we have 89 subscribers. So we're 11 people away from hitting 100. We might do something really, really special if we can get there by the end of the week. If you subscribe and join the Discord, we're probably going to do a giveaway. So if you don't mind joining the Discord and subscribing to us, we would love the support. We're growing so fast. It's been exactly 2 months since our first episode, and we're having so much fun making this content, making these podcasts. So thank you guys all for your support so far.
I can personally promise you, if you subscribe, that whatever you want, you have a free wish. It'll just work.
Oh, that's the giveaway? Is one free wish?
Are we holding you to this, Kevin?
Yeah, I promise.
Oh my gosh. So, something that I forgot to do that we're doing now
I'm making like 8 bot accounts now to get a wish from Kevin.
That's
what I was thinking. Yeah, right.
So, for our main topic today, it is on kingmaking. As you can probably tell, the title of this episode is called The King Has Been Made. It's kind of a hot topic in the cEDH community right now, thanks to Drake and Mikey from the Miscast doing an episode kind of similar to this one, talking about their views as legacy players about kingmaking, what kingmaking is, what it is compared to angle shooting, and how it is a huge, to some, problem in cEDH, and to others, something that doesn't exist. So we're going to talk about that today. So the first thing is that I'm going to read you guys the dictionary definition of kingmaking.
Okay.
So the dictionary definition of kingmaking is that kingmaking is the ceremony of crowning a king, or any similar ceremony of endowing a person with high office. In games, a strategy or design where one player, often the losing one, essentially gets to pick who wins. So, when it comes to cEDH, there's an idea that kingmaking is when a player who's about to lose the game goes out of their way to ensure that they don't lose, but that someone else will win, right? So we have a few examples and a few things that we're going to talk about and discuss in this episode, but what I want to know is, how do you guys as individuals, what do you guys define kingmaking as, in particular to cEDH? So the first person I'm going to start with, I think, is Kevin, because you've got
pretty
an
strong
opinion on this topic. Yeah. And so I want to let you go first and kind of break the ice here, and then we'll go through the table and let everybody else describe what they think kingmaking is in terms of cEDH. So Kevin, how do you define kingmaking?
Okay, well, I'm a bit more analytical, and, this isn't the World Series of Poker, but you can all understand this sort of base concept that at any given time, with any given action at the table, that someone has a certain win rate, because unfortunately, we are playing a multiplayer game, and it's a game based off of variance and randomness. There's some chance you'll win, there's some chance you will lose. There are some times when you've got a boat and your opponent has a pair. You will always win that hand, no matter what comes up on the flop.
You mean like
the turn of the river?
You mean like a Dan boat?
Not quite.
Oh.
But there are situations in which you have won the game, and there are situations in which there is a chance you can win the game. The ones we care about are the ones in which you have no chance to win the game, and when you have some non-guaranteed way to win the game. I think kingmaking is when you take actions that change the outcome of the game without gaining a chance to win yourself. So the classic one that everyone always brings up, it's easy, Pact and Negation, right? You cast a turn 1 Pact, you fucked yourself, usually. Sure, you don't have an out. You've lost, right? So that's an unacceptable play for some.
Some might call it a spite pact.
A spite pact, even.
Until like dark right into a Cabal ritual into, yeah.
Yeah, how do you get where's your fucking blue ritual? Point being, there are some moves that will never... They set your win rate to 0, right? Like, they damn you to a guaranteed loss. Those actions, I believe, are kingmaking, and they do exist. And you don't want to take them when possible. However, I redid a game recently, we'll probably get into, where one player basically took their win rate from 0 to 1 in a million. But that is a net gain. It was Adam, actually, who barely gave himself a chance to win and got bitched at for it. So, long ramble short, I think that kingmaking is when you take an action that takes one person's win and slides it over to another person, while having little to no effect on your chance to actually win the game.
That was a pretty in-depth definition there.
Yeah.
I like talking, bro.
So, Spencer, how do you define kingmaking?
Well, it's interesting because it's hard to argue with the dictionary definition, and Kevin's too. You had some great points. I guess I would agree with everything you just said, but I am on the weird spectrum, and maybe it's just devil's advocate, but I don't even think in some cases kingmaking is wrong. Essentially, if you've been making deals with some player the whole game and they've been keeping up with you and making a front to everything that they said they would have done and continue to do, I might feel socially responsible as a person to continue helping the player that has helped me throughout the game.
I mean, EDH is a political game.
Yes, it is.
And there are political rules that we follow in a political game that sometimes you're held to as a person, and it comes into question morals.
Yep.
Not just, if this person's going to feel bad or not. Is it morally right to do something? Is it morally wrong? Should you break another player's trust at the table? That does exist in cEDH, even though some people would argue it shouldn't have a place in competitive play. I find myself as a very political player at the table. And I really leverage my politics when I'm playing.
I agree. I'm very similar in that respect too. I like making deals. I like trying to get any form of value that I can, even if it be within someone's goodwill of the game. But, for future games, there's only one way to keep that, and it's to continue sticking to what you said you would do. And as far as EDH goes, sure, some people might not like kingmaking, but who are you to say I can't play the game the way I want to?
I think that there's an aspect of sportsmanship, and it's hard with a multiplayer game because I can't really draw on a real sport that has multiple teams playing at the same time. But
you're saying that it's not in the spirit of the game, I see.
So here's my thing, right? Bluffing, lying, backstabbing, totally cool. Those are all tools in your arsenal.
That was not where I thought you were going with that.
You can be a raw dog piece of shit. You can just be evil and just horrible, right? You can say and lie and don't cheat. Everything but cheating you can do. If it is in the rules of the game, send it.
So kingmaking is in the rules of the game.
You can do it. The only time that I say that kingmaking is truly a problem is when you effectively get to make a choice. You have taken a coin flip and put it into your hands. It's no longer random. The game is either Spencer wins or Kian wins, and you get that choice.
And by the way, you guys should pick Spencer.
That's my problem, is when you and you alone decide the fate of a game, and you aren't the person who's going to benefit from it.
I will when we get to my definition of kingmaking, I'll touch on that point again.
Yeah.
But first, Kian, I want to hear how you define kingmaking in regards to cEDH.
I define kingmaking as you knowingly making a play that makes another player win. It's not.
That's a pretty broad definition.
It is a pretty broad definition, but Spencer and Kevin basically already touched on the points into more detail. So I'm just getting a broad definition because, I know Spencer has, let's say, Thoracle and he has the Thoracle combo. Yeah, he has the normal Thoracle console, right? Normal Kian would be all right, I'm sitting on a misstep and a force, okay, and I'm last in priority. I'm gonna wait until everybody else goes, obviously, because I'm last in priority. But if they don't have anything, maybe they can respond to the that's his Oracle. Is that just kingmaking if I don't play my spells?
If you're first in priority?
No, if you're last in priority and everybody else passes.
Well, that's not kingmaking. That's priority bullying, right?
But it's not though, because I'm not casting this. I'm last in priority. Everybody passes on me. What if somebody has an ETB response at the last opportunity? Say someone's playing Angel's Grace or someone's playing something else.
Or you have a dress down, but you bluff that Adam has an answer to the consult instead of the Thoracle, right?
Right.
Okay. I think that one is not kingmaking.
No, that's you angle shooting the game and trying to get someone else to use their spells before you have to use yours. I don't think that's kingmaking. But when that person doesn't have the spell you think they have, and then the other player wins the game,
it feels bad.
Yeah, that can feel really bad.
But I think that's what we're going to cover in defining what kingmaking is to cEDH.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Yeah. I think that like someone might see you as kingmaking, but the other thing is that your hand isn't revealed information unless you've revealed that card already.
Right.
So they don't know. Like kingmaking to me is when you're knowingly doing something that the table is aware of, right? So like if someone's going to win the game, right? So like this is kind of a cliche example because everybody uses it. But if someone's going to win the game and I have 3 mana on board and I Pact of Negation their win, I have no way knowingly to pay for my Pact trigger on my own upkeep. So to them, I'm kingmaking because they are going to win the game and I'm preventing them from winning the game without a way to win the game myself.
Yeah.
So to those people, that's kingmaking, right? But for my definition of kingmaking, I like to look at the actual dictionary definition. And it says, that last part that I read, in games or a strategy, or in games with a strategy or design where one player essentially gets to pick who wins. In cEDH, I don't think you have the option to pick who wins. I think that if someone's going to attempt a win, you're going to lose regardless. Mm-hmm. So if you are stopping them from winning the game, you're not making the other 2 players win the game. You're just making it so you don't lose. I'm not picking Kevin to win. I'm not picking Spencer to win. I'm picking myself not to lose. And I'm not kingmaking one person. It's up to the rest of the table to stop whoever's going to attempt to win next because I'm stopping the person who's attempting to win now. I don't really think kingmaking exists in the sphere of cEDH, in my opinion. And that's only because rarely do you actually see it where someone is intentionally making someone else win the game.
Yeah, and basically you only see it in cEDH. Like Pact is like the easiest
But
example.
that's not even then you're not intentionally, like think about like in casual when people play group hug decks, right? A lot of group hug decks don't have a way to win the game. The whole point of a group hug deck is to take second place. So they're going to devote resources and devote spells and things to enhancing one specific player's experience at the table to make them the, what is it called? The when they're like the, not a king, arch enemy. They're making them the arch enemy at the table, right? But that player has all the resources and all the advantage in the game. You are kingmaking that person because you're helping them to essentially win. But when it comes to cEDH, your only goal is to win and it's not to lose. Right. So if you're doing something in your power not to lose the game, I don't think it's fair to tell me that I'm kingmaking because I'm stopping you from winning the game.
I believe that you touched on a good point of hidden information versus known information. I think if you do the Pact, the Pact play, right, like that's, there might be a chance you can get out of it. It could be a 1 in a billion, right? You're waiting for 2 Wheel of Fortunes and you need a Simian Spirit Guide and a multiple rituals, but there's a chance, right? Sure. I think kingmaking can only exist with known information.
Well,
so,
the other thing though is like you don't know what other people have either, right? I might be the only blue player at a table, and I might stop someone else from winning the game, but the person after me in turn order is also going to attempt the win. The player next to me might have a way to stifle the Pact trigger or do something that can prevent me from losing the game because it's better for them to have me at the table.
Yeah, and that's where I think hidden information, you basically cannot kingmake. The only time you can kingmake is when all or nearly all of the information is known. We had a game, last night, where Bryce had half of his damn deck in his graveyard, and he got his breach bounced to his hands. We all knew we had no answers because of things that had transpired. If you had one counterspell in your hands, and we had stopped Spencer from winning, knowing that passing to Bryce is game over, I think that is kingmaking. Because at that point, you know that you're taking a win from this person and giving it to another person.
I mean,
it's very narrow, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kingmaking is hard to find because it's rare that you're going to find these super niche scenarios, but they happen.
And I was gonna say, I also recently came into a scenario where I've experienced that. Went to a recent cEDH tournament at GU, and during my game, I was going for my second win attempt. I was casting a Yawgmoth's Will to get a Thorkel combo out of my yard. And
I know where this is going.
Yes. The player across from me, we'll call him player C, attempted to counter my Yawg-Will with a counter spell, and I was able to counter his back. And player D had then Pact of Negation my Yawg-Will to make sure it still didn't get through. Well, he was tapped out, and he had literally 5 mana available to him. And in response to his Pact, player C bounced one of his mana dorks, so then on his upkeep he would die to the trigger. Well, once it moved to his upkeep, in response to his trigger, he unloaded a few artifact destruction spells on the player that had bounced his dork and popped a couple of his artifacts. And not because it would get, obviously his chance of winning at that point was 0, but it was almost in turn of like, well, you made me lose the game. Here are the repercussions to your actions, essentially. And the other player did complain and say, hey, that seems like a spite play. But his response, and this resonates with me, I can understand it. Considering the circumstances you put me in, this seems more than fair.
I don't know. I'm torn on that one.
Well, I see, the way that I look at it is like, it's just like the real world, right? Like, we live in a country with free speech, right? You can say whatever you want to say, but there's repercussions for the things you say.
Yeah.
In a game of cEDH, you can do whatever you want to do, but there's repercussions for your actions. Sometimes those actions might be, after this game, certain players aren't going to play with you again anymore. But when it comes to what we like to play, which is competitive tournament play, there's repercussions for every action. So if you're going to take me out of the game, well, hey, I might take you out of the game too. You know what I mean? And is that wrong? I don't know. There's repercussions to every action.
So you're bringing it like out of the game, and I think there are good points to discuss there. But
No, I'm saying like if you're gonna make me lose, I'm gonna make you lose as well.
Yeah,
that's very
I
in the
get that.
game.
But you're talking about like a social interaction like after the game, and I think that's totally reasonable. But I think so. People often call that rattlesnaking, right? Because you're like a rattlesnake. You shake your rattle, and you're like, if you come close, I'm gonna bite you. I think rattlesnaking is okay, and it comes back to the known versus unknown information. I think if you make that information known, like, hey, bro, you do this, I'm gonna fucking Vandal Blast you, and you're gonna lose the game. I think that's totally reasonable. If you announce what their actions will result in, sure, you're giving known information. But if you hide that information and then sort of fuck someone over at the last second, it's a bit spite. You know, it's kind of a dick move, right? Like, it's a sportsmanship.
But is it king making?
And is it a sportsmanship thing?
It's not king making. That's like poo poo making. Like, you make one person lose. Like, you let the game go, but that person.
But to some people, that's king making because I could win, but you're making it so now I'm gonna lose, and now it's a 1v1, and one person's clearly ahead. You just king made that. And this comes down to like, I don't think king making exists. I think it's a way
Neither
for
do
salty
I.
players to be salty.
Yep.
I will mostly agree with you, but I think there is a very narrow set
window.
of there's a very small subset of cases where I could craft 100 of them, right? Where it's just like literally like two players have breach in hand, and you have one fucking counter like actual
Yeah, which
counter
breach
spell.
are you gonna counter?
Yeah, exactly. That's king making. How often does that happen? I guarantee you have seen one at most in all of your games played.
We saw one yesterday.
Yeah, I literally that was the one the true first king making I've ever seen.
Yeah, and then people have like put me in scenarios where they've told me like, oh, you have an ability to king make the game, and I'm like, what's my ability to king make the game? Well, I'm gonna attempt to win here, and if you stop me, well then that player's gonna win. And I go, that's not king making, sir. You're gonna try to win, and I'm gonna lose unless I stop you. So guess what? I'm stopping you. I'm sorry. That's not king making. And people try to like angle shoot me like that in games all the time. So going on like to the rattlesnake thing you were talking about, this just happened to me at the Chaos tournament. Playing at Chaos on the Nexus, which if you guys aren't a part of Chaos, you should join it. It's a free Discord tournament where everybody plays on Spell Table, and they give out real prizes, and it's freaking awesome. Last month, someone won a Japanese Survival of the Fittest for freaking just playing Spell Table by dedicating like 5 hours of their Saturday. It's an awesome community. But I was playing in this tournament, and I was playing my Jessica Ishai deck, and I have like a bunch of spells in my hand, Ishai on board with like 4 counters on it, and this guy's like, oh, I'm gonna attempt the win here, but if you stop me, Ishai's gonna have enough counters where you can kill somebody, and you're gonna be king making the game, because there was only 3 of us left in the pod. And I was like, how am I gonna be king making the game, dude? I'm gonna stop you from losing. I can then take you out of the table. Now it's a 1v1 between me and this guy. Is that king making? Because
You might be able to do it again.
yeah, exactly. Like, and so I told him, like, here's the deal. You could go for the win. I'm going to stop you no matter what.
That to me is 100% morally cool. That is like socially acceptable, and that is gameplay acceptable.
Well, and then his response was, well, then you're just king making. And I said, call it what you want, but I'm telling you what I'm going to do. And that player didn't attempt the win. They held it in their hand for the rest of the game. And I had no way to win besides my stupid bird and the Yuriko player was very much further ahead than me, and because of that, he had enough interaction to stop the Yuriko player from winning and couldn't win himself, so we drew the game. And guess what? A draw is better than a loss, so I took that, because that's in competitive play something that's important, and that I think you're allowed to do that. I think you're allowed to rattlesnake. You're allowed to shoot your angles. You're allowed to say, you can call it kingmaking if you want, but I'm telling you I'm going to do it regardless.
Yeah.
And I think if we got that notion out of the game of like, oh, that's socially and morally wrong, you're kingmaking, then this would never be a discussion in the first place. If people came, like, that's the rule 0 of cEDH, right? Everybody sits down at a table and we all have the same expectation. We're going to play the highest power that we can, no complaints about the cards that we're playing, and the goal is to win the game. The goal isn't to have fun. I mean, it's to have fun, but the goal isn't to... the goal isn't to sit here till turn 10 and diddle around unless we're playing stacks, which is fun, by the way, to all you stacks haters out there.
Yeah, Kian, by the way, you can't complain about your Sharn anymore. It's perfectly legitimate strategy.
I will always complain about your Sharn. But Adam, to your point, like, we play a competitive format. Any little bits, like, whether socially or, like, just playing cards to get
you an edge,
to get an advantage, we will take. Like, say, like, I can politics Spencer. Like, a perfect game is what happened between me, you, and then another player that goes to GU. Like, I had two counter spells in my hand, and he pacted your win
on turn 2.
On turn 2
with one land in play.
Yeah,
so that player lost on their upkeep, and me and you battled it out for like 4 or 5 turns until you ultimately got there. Yeah. And, that was politically a tool that you used. You bluffed not having interaction.
Yeah.
He said, well, I don't want to lose. I'm going to pact this. If I had a counter spell, he was hoping I'd counter the pact. That's another thing, by the way, that I think falls into this, is like...
We just did that like an hour ago.
Yes, so you can use Pact of Negation to bait out a counterspell. Why is that wrong? And if this person looks at your board and says, oh, you don't have enough to pay for the Pact? Sure, I will not win the game here just to have you lose the game on your upkeep.
Yeah, like you basically bluffed that you didn't have another Dispel in hand or something.
Yeah.
And you've gotten to use your shitty counterspell that got eaten by a Swan Song.
Yeah.
Which literally just happened an hour ago.
Yeah.
I didn't that Pact I cast, I didn't have a way to pay for that, but I had a Tainted Pact and a Lab Man, so I knew I could get there. Maybe.
So I think that all is just like a part of the game, and like kind of what I was going on earlier was that if we just had the rule 0 of like a counterspell stops me from losing, every counterspell that I cast is to prevent me from losing the game, and that's final, we would never have this conversation. If Pact was just a 0-mana counterspell that says you lose the game on your upkeep, people would probably question it even less, because they would just be like, well, he's going to try to win at instant speed on his upkeep, at least we know that. You know what I mean? Like, but because there's this notion of like, oh, it's a trigger that you have to pay and respond to and blah, blah, everybody gets like all butthurt about it. If the rule 0 was just like, if you're going to attempt to win, I'm going to attempt to stop you, and that's by any means necessary, this would never be a problem. But for some reason, the casual play of EDH seeps into cEDH, and people get really emotional about games. And I think you're allowed to get emotional about games. I think you're allowed to have feelings about games. I think you're allowed to get upset when you lose. But I think it's wrong to tell players that they're playing the game incorrectly because of a decision that they made. Well, okay, let me rephrase that, because I think certain players play wrong a lot because they might make inappropriate questionable decisions. Yeah. But what I mean is, like, if a player is doing something based on game actions that they are choosing to do, I don't think that you have a place to say, like, you can think that someone's doing something wrong. You can voice, like, I think you made a wrong decision. But I think to try to guilt trip them into saying, like, you're king making the game and you're doing this and you're doing that is inappropriate at a table.
So
isn't being a crybaby bitch also angle shooting? Isn't that a tool you have?
I was about to say,
I have literally won by doing that.
I was literally about to say, I'm like, you could argue, and this is my hardcore Timmy conspiracy, that all of these people that are complaining about king making, maybe they're using that as a way to
prevent people from packing their...
making players work in a way that they're like, well, if you do this, you're king making, and that's, people are going to look at you different.
You know what? Maybe this is a grand conspiracy.
Those are the fucking Among Us imposters that never got caught.
This is that's like top tier. That's top tier big brain thinking. Right?
Yes.
Because that is a good point. Like, honestly, I should, like, as a tournament player, I shouldn't be complaining about people complaining, because their complaining could be them actually
Trying to win.
trying to win.
Yeah.
I've done it not in a tournament setting, but I was playing a game before where I was like, fuck, I'm going to lose. And I was like, I feel wrong about this, but I'm going to be a bitch. I'm going to just whine. And I whined and bitched. And that person changed their gameplay. And on my turn, I was like, I win, Lamau, never fucking trust me. I said, never listen to me. Just kill me next time. And I won.
That's not the game where you beat me with Najila, is it?
No. That was before I knew you guys.
Because that was pretty similar. When he's like, man, if you just got rid of this Oppo, then I can make sure that we don't lose the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh really? He's like, yeah, because I'll win.
I know.
I think that's just Kevin's strat. Just like bitch enough, and then you have the win.
It was a simple one where someone was gonna bonk me with a 2-2 and kill me or something, and I was like, listen, man, like I got counter spells. Like I haven't done shit to you all game. I think it was even a casual game. It wasn't even an actual competitive game. But I just whined until the guy was like, yeah, okay, yeah, we fine, bro. And I was like, dipshit.
So now that we kind of define kingmaking, or how we each view it, I want to know what your guys' stance are. So starting with Kevin. Kevin, do you think kingmaking exists in competitive play?
Does it exist? Yes. Do you want more than just a yes or no?
For right now, I just want the yes or no.
Does it exist?
Yeah.
In a non-zero capacity? Yes.
Okay. Do you think kingmaking, Kian, exists in competitive play?
No.
Okay. Spencer, do you think kingmaking exists in competitive play?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you can always just do it.
Correct.
So you think it exists, but you don't think it's wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. Me personally, I think by the definition that I defined, I don't think kingmaking exists in competitive play. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, some other people's opinions are obviously wrong, like two other people on the podcast.
Yeah, for
right
sure.
now,
At
but
least
you
two
know.
specifically.
Yeah. No, my opinion is I could for sure make a play that without question I will help somebody win.
But does it increases your chance of winning? Okay, then why are you playing competitive?
Because it's funny. Why not?
But
I can
we
play
are
the
playing
game I
a-
want.
we are-
I can play the game how I want. Why are you saying I have to play the game
because
to
it's
your
not
standards?
optimal. I'm not. This is the
If
cut
it's not
and dry
optimal, but I'm going
standards.
to lose either way. If I'm going to lose either way, why can't I at least pick who wins?
You're the motherfucker who flips the Monopoly board when you're losing.
No, I'm not. I just pick someone else to win. But I get to choose. Why don't I get that choice? If I have the capacity to do something in the game that I want to do, who are you to say I can't do
Because in
it?
an FFA, when you team up with someone else, it feels like the other person was robbed.
What does an FFA mean?
Free for all.
And that's unfortunate for them.
No, that's awesome, dude. We used to on Call of Duty all the time. Everybody joins the same server as fast as you can. Hope you end up in the same free for all. And then you're a 4-man beating on everybody else.
Scumbag
Yeah.
shit.
Hey, it's how I get,
just-
it's
it's
how I
one
get
nuclear-
victory royales.
No, you literally just do that until you get nuclear medals, and then easy game.
Fucking scrubs.
Yeah.
Earn your 4 KD with pride.
Okay, so
I did.
anyways,
Black Ops 2.
So we have two split opinions here. So me and Kian think that kingmaking doesn't really exist in competitive play, and Spencer and Kevin, you guys think it exists in capacity. Spencer, you don't think it's wrong. Kevin, you think it's wrong, and you think that certain decisions that players make are 100% like could be defined as kingmaking.
Let me ask what you mean by does it exist? Do you mean that does it happen, or is it like possible to happen?
I think with how I described kingmaking earlier, like I think that it's just a word that people use around to gaslight people in the game is basically what I think it is. I think that if you're going to lose the game, you're allowed to make whatever decisions you want in spite of you losing regardless, right? Yep. If someone, and I'll go over some scenarios later, but like if someone's going to swing at you all out and they have lethal on board and you have one blocker, but you can kill the creature they need to win the game, but you're still going to die regardless, are you kingmaking? I don't think so. I think you're blocking and playing the game still.
I think as long
not
as you
just conceding.
Make your intentions clear, and I think you're 100% good. I think you just tell people, like, I'm going to block your creep. Or, honestly, no, fuck that. I agree with you. If a person takes a risk to kill you, then that's their own risk. They're taking risk to push you out of the game. To me, kingmaking is, I have a 2/2 zombie. We have no lands. We have no artifacts. All of our decks are empty. And I go to combat, right? You're both at 2 life. That, to me, is kingmaking. How often does that happen? Virtually never.
Well, I think that in that instance, you might just be making a bad play. Like, it's not kingmaking. Like, if I mean, and that scenario is really, really niche and really kind of hard to grasp.
I get
Yeah,
that. That's my point.
And to
is
the
that-
point that Kian made before too, like, oh, if it's not optimal, at what point does it matter how optimal my plays are if I have no chance to win?
You always have a chance to win.
No, if I have no chance to win. If my deck, I failed my combo attempts, my pieces are exiled, I have cards in deck that I know cannot actually grasp me a victory. And at this point, the only thing I have is counterspells to say somebody I think deserves the win is going to get it.
That's not true because you always have a chance to win. Unless you exiled your entire library, there's no chance that you don't have the ability to play a creature and beat people with
Your
creatures.
commander's still in the command zone.
So
Yeah,
let
like
me come up with one that's not
true, but
unreasonable.
That's
right?
a very... Oh, you're kind of like...
So what I'm saying is like you can come up with a definition for king making.
Yeah.
Sure. You can make up whatever scenario you want in your head
Niche.
and call that king making. Sure. But in competitive REL play, you are just making game actions that you want to make, and that's not king making.
I think at some points you can, without question, help who becomes the winner of the game.
So I agree with Spencer, right? Like, let's say
That's almost unarguable.
that you know, for whatever reason, based on actions, you have 4 lands left in your deck. You have only lands. You have 2 counter spells. Your commander is permanently phased out of the game due
There's
to
a
some
Draneth or something.
Not even a Draneth, right? Because you could remove a Draneth.
Yeah.
Let's just say that due to some weird rules interaction that I don't remember exactly how it works, but you can permanently phase out certain creatures and they'll never come back, right?
Oh, out of time or some shit?
It's like out of time, but you do like weird bouncing stuff and like I don't remember the judge thing, but basically let's say your commander's phased out. You got 4 lands in your deck, 2 counter spells in hand. Should you take game actions? And I think
What
the
I'm
answer-
finding here is that you have to go to
extreme lengths.
extreme lengths to make up a
prove
scenario
your point.
that's king making.
Correct.
And in my
But
eyes,
that doesn't make it wrong. It's a point.
That's my thing. Is does it exist in some non-zero capacity?
Yes.
Technically, yes.
sure, but I'm talking about in the actual like reality.
Is it
of,
realistic?
No.
That's
not,
what.
not
Yeah.
usually.
But
So that-
Which is what
mathematically
we're
it can
talking
happen.
about.
Yeah, which is what I guess that's more. Yeah, that's more the definition I'm reaching for with this question is like in realistic competitive play, does it really exist? In my opinion,
Objectively, yes. I saw it last night. I mean, Bryce. We were in a scenario where someone literally
you
got
could
to
stop. You could have pacted Bryce's breach and stopped his breach. You still have no idea that I have the win in hand. So
Correct.
are you king making? I don't think so. Because now instead, Bryce's breach gets countered. It goes to his graveyard. Yeah. He can still Savines it back eventually. He can still win the game. And you don't know if I'm going to win, and you don't know if Kian's going to win. It's not king making. You're just saying, well, I either lose now or I don't. So let me just not lose now.
That's where I
Okay.
think it's playing to your outs, and I'm with you on that.
And what about the situation then that I stated where the player was for sure going to lose because of the pact, and he just decided to unload his artifact destruction on the player that made him die?
Because there's 2 other players in your pot.
Because there's 2 other players. He's not choosing one of you guys to win. He's just saying, you're setting me back by making me lose the game. Well, I'm going to set you back with me because that's the consequence that you have to deal with because you targeted me.
But
So
isn't that
we're not-
punishing someone for making optimal plays?
Yeah, I was
Yes, but Juno, sorry, my dog is drinking out of the toilet.
gonna lizard challenge. He walks out.
That'd be delicious.
But you're not like. What was your question again? Say that again.
Before Juno,
It was to my story.
yeah. So I don't know how I feel about it because it's very spiteful. Obviously, like it's very inappropriate way to like play the game.
Is it though?
Is it though? Is it inappropriate to
though?
play the game, or is it inappropriate to take a player out of the game for
Prematurely.
Prematurely, yeah, exactly. Like,
Oh boy, I could bitch about this one for an hour.
So it's just things to consider. Like I said, I think that king making is used more as a term to gaslight than it is as a competitive term.
Yeah.
We've already talked about a lot of these ad nauseum, but I was gonna go over some scenarios that like makes you think of king making. So we've already talked about the Pact of Negation one. Everybody brings that one up because it's
literally the
easy.
easiest
it's the
example.
easiest one to do. Another thing is like the attacking scenario, right? So say like someone's playing like Najila, right? And they're trying to get attack triggers or whatever, and say in some capacity they swing at you with Najila, right? Or Derevi or something, even though I don't think that... Yeah, they swing with Derevi, right?
Yeah, well, if you can.
Yeah.
If you can, you do.
And you have this scenario now where you have a flying blocker that's in play, but they have enough warriors in play that they're going to kill you regardless. Do you block the Derevi even though you're going to die anyways?
As an Agila player, objectively, yes. Because what that does is it puts me in a spot where I go, shit, if I attack him and kill him, I miss out on my win chance.
But no, you've already declared attackers, though. That's the thing.
Well, no. But I'm saying, when I'm choosing to attack, I have to think, am I going to take the risk he'll block me?
But when I say that everybody else has even more creatures on board, so you have to swing at this player because they have the least amount of creatures on board, and you need those combat triggers to continue your loop. So you have to swing at him, and he's going to die regardless because you've generated enough warriors now.
Should he block me?
Should he block your Derevi and take you out of the game, even though he's going to die?
Every single time. Because it forces me to take a risk and to make an action that I know will result in not winning.
But is that king making?
That's the whole question.
No,
right?
it's not at all. Not even in the slightest.
No.
But
because
a lot of Najeela players would go, "Why are you doing that? That's king making. You're
or
losing
fucking-
anyways. Why are you taking me out
They
of the
just
game?"
want to complain because they're playing beats.
playing literal tier 1 fucking
So
top
like
5 color.
these are a lot of scenarios that I hear get brought up by people, and like something that I always hear in the community is like, as long as you block optimally, or block in the best way that gives you a chance to survive, say something crazy happens, then you are in the right.
Yeah, another
so,
player removes 4 tokens.
Yes, or something like that, or someone instant speed like Angus Run making.
What's the fucking the containment priest? The one that when creatures ETB they don't.
Yeah.
If you didn't. Yeah. What if someone somehow flashes in a containment priest or something?
Oh, dude, I could talk ad nauseum about some crazy friggin' plays I've done with containment priests and like playing stacks pods where I like put in a Oblivion ring and then targeted someone's creature, and then they had to blow up the Oblivion ring, and in response I used a Seal of Cleansing to blow up a Grasp of Fate that had a Containment Priest, so that when their commander re-entered the battlefield, the Containment Priest entered first, so then the commander got exiled because, like crazy lines like that from situations kind of stemming from that one. But,
So to your point of, is that king making? If I, as an Najeela player, look at the board, I always assume they're going to do the blocks, no matter whether they die or not. I have to assume that they will do the best they can to survive, right? Mm-hmm. Just because I've got 10 cavalrymen charging into your 1 spearman, he's going to fucking poke one of those horses. And yeah, sure, he's going to die for it, but like, that's the risk you take. That's your threat. If I knowingly swing into someone who's going to block me and stop me from winning, I'm a dipshit player. I'm a bad player who's hoping that I can bully someone into choosing to lose.
Yeah, which I think I agree with that, personally. And we've talked about a lot of other scenarios, so I'll kind of gloss over this bit a little bit. But how do you guys think that like king making translates to when you're playing casual competitive games with your friends and when you're playing REL tournament games? So what I mean by that is like when we jam here, or we go to our tournaments on Mondays, we play our tournaments, and then we're playing games in between rounds at the tournaments. Like, some of those games are casual, and some of those games are actual, like, competitive tournament games. Do you, like, think that king making is appropriate when you're playing with friends and playing casually? Or do you think that it's, like, a frowned upon thing to do at any time?
No, because I like messing with
I was
my
about
friends.
to say, yeah, it's funny.
So, like, the reason why I asked this is because, like, in our game yesterday, you had a situation that could be interpreted as king making, and it was in a competitive game, correct?
Yep.
Or was
it was over money.
It was over money, and you chose not to make that play because of the connotation of king making and what that
Correct.
holds.
But I still held the threat up, which actually deflected him from doing it.
Oh, yeah. And then, like in that scenario, that was a competitive game, and you still did not, like, you chose not to king make. Now, if that was casual, would you have pacted the breach?
If they are my friends, grip it, rip it, and fucking make fun of them.
Well, see,
every time.
I've played with randoms that have the same viewpoint. That even if you're not my friend, if we're playing just for fun, I'm spite playing you all day.
If we're playing casual,
I've done that.
If we're playing casual with people I don't know, I'm just trying to have
I mean, it's still cEDH.
Oh, okay.
But it's a casual game.
Well, that's fucking casual. Let's be honest.
I mean, yeah, you muddle the definitions too much, though, and people will get confused. So we're talking about casual cEDH, just to clarify.
Sure.
So, like when
cEDH with your friends.
cEDH with your friends, or cEDH with people you met at a game store, or you're jamming on spell table. Yeah, is it appropriate or is it inappropriate? I'm a goof. Like, I'm a goof, and I will fuck around in games all the time. I'll do non-optimal plays. I'll sacrifice my whole hand on turn 1 with a land and an LED just to get Ishai out just to be like, all right, motherfuckers, start casting your spells,
It's
like,
bird time.
Yeah, I'll do dumb shit like that or non-optimal plays just because I can. So my question is, like, if you're playing with your friends or if you're playing with people you met for the first time or whatever, like, is it cool to do the Spite Pact? Is it appropriate? Because a lot of people have differing opinions on that specific topic.
Well, from both of your opinions, since kingmaking doesn't exist, it should be fine, right?
Yeah, I do it.
There we go.
I'll do it in competitive play and I'll do it in casual play. Like, I don't care.
There we go.
I think it depends on how you want to interact with those people afterwards. And that's not even a fucking game thing at that point. That's just a how do I treat people around me. That's like, are you an asshole? That's just not even a magic thing. That's just how you treat people. Sportsmanship, how you treat people in a game, shows the respect that you were willing to show them outside of a game.
But on the sportsmanship thing, too, let's say, like...
Don't be a sore loser.
Yeah, and let's say throughout this whole game, like, I have been piggybacking off of another player, and they've been helping me. And I do make a play that for sure gives them the, like, path to victory. Would it be less sportsmanlike for me then to maybe screw them over when I don't have a chance of winning myself? When I could have just helped them if they've been trying to help me?
I think that the line when you truly have no way to win, I think the answer is just don't make any more actions. When you are absolutely fucked and no possible combination of events exists that you can pull out a win, just stop playing. Stay in the game.
Even if someone else has tried their best to help you throughout everything. That feels a little less sportsmanlike to me than saying fuck it, letting them, like...
It's a free-for-all.
Fade out
The integrity of free-for-all is that every player puts everything they can at the table, and you try your best to win with it.
Just so, like, we're all on the same page here, something that, like, I've really tried to do lately that I'm, like, a big fan of is I started telling people that I'm sorry that you don't agree with the decision I'm making.
Yeah.
But the spell is on the stack, and it's the decision I've made. Are you passing priority?
I have gotten some very snarky comments on decisions I have made. I had a game where I had a time twister that it wasn't going to do anything, but there was like a 1 in 50, a 1 in 150 that I ripped the Oracle Consult and no one had counters. Was it likely? No. Did it basically guarantee someone else won the game? Yeah. But it took my win from I'm fucked to maybe. Some people don't know why you make plays sometimes, and that's the unknown information.
Well, that's where I've been, like, that's where I think I think communication is a really big problem in the community, and I think, like, better communication would fix a lot of these problems, because that's, like, something that I've done that's really been beneficial to me, where I've been like, I'm sorry that you don't agree with me, but I've already made the decision. Yeah. Are you passing priority? Yep. Because it's very fair, it's very honest, and it's saying, like, I acknowledge how you're feeling, but the spell's on the stack. So what are you going to do now?
Yeah. And it's hard to argue even the integrity thing against that, because if, let's say, Kian has been helping me through the whole game, my integrity as a person would be to probably just help him back.
I'll make you an offer you can't refuse.
Something that I want to bring up to you guys. Well, I'll do one more situation quick, because it's something that is really personal to me that I've made an adjustment with in my games. I used to be a really salty player when I first started this format, like very salty. And one thing that I used to hate, and it's funny to bring it up because we do it a lot in our play group, is ripping a forbidden tutor when you're going to lose the game to get a counterspell to stop you from losing. And the reason why I used to hate it was because I would watch continuously my friends exile their entire libraries and all their win conditions just to hit a Force of Will or just to hit a Pact of Negation to counter my Underworld Breach or my whatever that I'm trying to win the game with, and then being like, well, I've already exiled my library, so I might as well do what I came here for, and countering my spell. And I used to hate it. Because I used to be like, why would you throw the game? Why are you doing this just to stop me? Like, it doesn't do anything for you, blah, blah, blah. But the adjustment I've made in my own head that I've realized is that it's that whole win percentage thing. Yeah. There is a chance that it's the 7th card when they demonic consultation for their card. So they're going to name Force of Will, they're going to exile 6, and the next card is their spell that they need, and they didn't have to get rid of barely anything. And
I have Tainted Pacts and hit the card I looked for on the 2nd card. Is it likely? No. Does it work sometimes? Yeah. You're basically choosing to lay down and die, or to roll a 1,000-sided die and hope you get a 1.
Yeah, basically.
Is it going to happen often? No. Do you look like a dickhead 999 times? Sometimes.
Yes. Most of the time you do end up looking like a wiener that doesn't know how to play the game. But it's better than losing, right?
Yep.
So that's like the adjustment that I've had to make personally, is like, when is it better than losing? Because when I look at someone's decision and I go, like, is that decision that they've made better than losing? What do I have to complain about? They're not losing the game. Even though I might not be winning, they're not losing. So I shouldn't have a right to bitch about anything. So that's how I look at it, at least. So the last question I'll ask about kingmaking, because we've talked about this now for 50 minutes, is how do you fix this problem? Not and for us, Kian, right? Like, we don't think it exists. So maybe the question for us is, how do we fix this kingmaking stigma? And for Spencer and Kevin, you guys, I think the question I want to ask you is, how do you fix the kingmaking problem?
That's hard for me because I don't think it's a problem.
I'm the only.
There's your answer.
We have a Punnett square here, and I'm the only one I think that has a real response to it. So I think that kingmaking is a problem in players' minds. For as many 9s as you can fit on the screen, divided by that number plus 1, times kingmaking doesn't exist. The vast majority of time, it's not kingmaking. You just didn't understand their plays, or they mistook the board, or did not know how a deck worked. It's either lack of information, a poor decision, or some hidden information you did not know about. I think you have to ask yourself, what would I do in their situation? And I think if you accuse someone of kingmaking, or if you're accused of it, just sit down and say, hey, can I show you what I was thinking? And like, explain to them why you did your actions. Because that might teach them, like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. Maybe they just don't know an aspect of the game, and you can take that from a salty moment to a teaching moment, and maybe you can become friends out of it, or whatever,
So for you, Kian, then how do you think we fix this stigma of kingmaking?
I think it's just that. It's a stigma. Like, once people grasp...
No way, really?
Wait, really? I think that once people grasp that the other players in the pod are doing everything that they can to win the game and increase their percentage to win, it'll be, like, less salt-inducing. Because that's basically what kingmaking is in most cases. It's, you did this to me, I'm going to do this to you, and make this other player win. I think once people grasp the idea that everybody's doing whatever they can possible to win the game, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, you did this because you can't have an out. Like, you still have cards in your hand, which is like, I don't know what your cards in your hand are, but you may be sitting on like Brain Freeze Breach.
Yeah.
So
I think that it's definitely like the saltiness is more the problem.
Yes,
right.
It's more the mindset and like the way of looking at cEDH as a format.
Hit it on the fucking head.
And I think it's totally fair to be salty, but you shouldn't make game actions based on being salty.
Correct.
Yep.
Like, I think if you can, like, I would even sit there at the table and like be like, you know what, dude, I'm so fucking salty that you did that, and just say that out loud,
Just say it.
and that would make you feel so much better than spite playing somebody,
Being passive aggressive,
or being petty, just being petty.
Yeah, I played a game on Spell Table where a dude was just seething with rage, and he went, anywho, I'll attack the Naus player, who was not me. He was mad at me,
But still
and
played
he-
optimally.
But he made the
correct play. And I think kingmaking is a problem, quote marks. That's a player problem, right? It's teaching them what the format is, how it like should be played, which is a way of. Let me put it this way: these motherfuckers need to go play a modern GP and get killed by Burn 3 rounds in a row. They need to fucking drop 0-3 after losing to dumb bullshit in Legacy. Just learn how Magic works and learn that sometimes you get dicked by dice. Sometimes you get fucked.
And on a good point to that, I feel like Commander, as funny of a format as it is, it does lead to people getting just kind of handed wins.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of times your deck is going to win. You aren't going to win the game.
Yeah.
Your decisions won't win the game. Your deck's just going to win for you. Sometimes you're just going to have the Adnos in turn 1. Sometimes you're going to have the Thoracle Consult on turn 1, right? Like, sometimes you're just going to get there and your deck's going to win for you. And I feel like people get like a big ego because of that, like, oh, I had to win, or I could have done this, or I could have done this.
And I think that's cEDH, because everybody's playing optimal decks and not fast decks, but decks that can win like with 2 to 5 cards. And I think that's most self-inducing, because this happens to be like, I had the win, but you won before me. And I think that's why cEDH is good, because like it cares about player order and the randomness of the dice roll.
My favorite joke is when I win a game and then somebody goes, man, I had the win if you didn't win. I like to say, yeah, and so did everybody else in this room.
Yeah,
because
literally.
every time you end a game, everybody shows their hand and they're like, "Oh, I could have won. I could have won. I could have won."
That's
It's like,
what-
yeah, everybody could have won, dude. We're playing cEDH.
That's what we're playing. We're
Yeah.
playing. If you can't say the phrase, "Well, if it wasn't for you, I was going to win right after you," pick a better deck.
Yeah. So and so like that's my favorite joke is like, "Oh, I could have won after you." Yeah, and so could everybody else in this room because that's the honest truth, right? Like,
Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting at that table.
yeah. And so I think that in all honesty, in my opinion, like fixing the king making problem is just like a rule zero talk.
Yeah.
Like literally, like and in cEDH, the whole point is we skip the rule zero because everybody knows what they're doing. But sometimes it might be
They don't.
They don't.
No,
Not
but
always.
sometimes it's good to like sit down at a table and just say, "Hey, just so you're aware, my rule zero talk is I'm playing optimally to the best of my ability and going to play every spell that I can that's going to help me win the game."
Yeah, I
and
mean-
like if you leave it at that, I feel like what are people gonna say when you do something, right? Like, you already stated that you're playing as optimally as possible. So, I think that sometimes just maybe go take a bath and wash all the salt off you sometimes, and, and stop trying to gaslight the players around you at the table because.
Unless that's your strategy.
Unless that's your strategy, then whatever.
Honestly-
but just don't be a dick. Just don't be
Yeah.
a dick. That's like the big thing. I just don't want to see a bunch of. I don't want to sit down and play games with a bunch of dicks. If that was the case, I'd be playing at other places.
League of Legends.
Yeah.
Frankly.
No.
Honestly, I think people that do complain about king making, and I'm saying this is like no insult to you, no salt, sit down and flip 2 coins 100 times. And I want you to write down the results. And I want you to just sit there and realize how many times you hit tails. It's
That's how
gonna
many
be,
times you lose.
It's 1 in 4. That's how many times you win, right?
Or
When you hit 2 tails, you win, and when you hit anything else, you lose. You're playing a 4-player format. If assuming your deck is average, it's going to win 1 out of every 4 games.
Yep.
You're not going to get a 55% win rate. Hell, you can barely get that in friggin' 60-card formats.
Yeah,
And I think that encapsulates king making, like what Adam touched on last and what you touched on. So
yeah, for sure. So moving on, Kian, you got anything you'd like to?
the best segment of this podcast.
Hell yeah.
The flavor text. Also, you can now become a flavor text enjoyer with a Patreon subscription.
Yeah, one of our Patreon tiers is Flavor Text Enjoyer because it's kind of the meme of our channel lately is that we love flavor text here. So
Some of us do.
yeah.
Spencer,
Please give us money.
I do.
All right. The flavor text of the day. All parts must be used.
oh fuck, I know this one, but I don't know what it is. Oh no,
all parts
I've heard
must
it.
be used. It sounds like an artifact.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
See,
Yeah. Don't give us hints. Let's do process of elimination.
I'm not giving you hints this
all
time.
parts must
All
be used.
parts-
I know it's a card.
Was
It's
it
a
printed?
Phyrexian card.
Was correct? I think
I
you're
know
right
it's
there.
a Phyrexian card.
Was it printed before 2010?
He doesn't.
Birthing pod.
Nope.
Wait, that's an
Nope.
artifact, isn't it?
Nope.
But I know what it's
Not
not.
before
It's not
2010.
Dismember.
Nope.
No.
All parts must be used.
Is it Heartless Summoning?
Nope.
So wait, what? Let's brainstorm here.
It's.
What we
I can
think
tell
it
you, it's not Protean Hulk. I know that.
No.
We knocked one card off the list.
So,
knocked
it's,
multiple
so you
cards.
guys think it's a? Is it? So is it a Phyrexian? Like
Nope.
No. Oh, okay. So
What?
It's not. Okay, so let's
Not,
stop thinking
okay.
in the Phyrexian sphere. Not like Phyrexian mana, but like Phyrexian
Parts
themed.
must
Not
be
on the
used.
plane.
Not on the
Well,
plane.
and printed in
I was
any
gonna
of
say.
those
So
sets.
then it's on the Innistrad plane.
Nope.
No,
No.
all parts must be used. Oh, is it-
Kaladesh.
No. I know it's Crom.
Nope.
No.
Then it's Ludovic.
Nope.
Really?
Because he said it's not on the Innistrad plane.
Yeah,
Is Crom
I
from-
think
oh,
Crom's
yeah.
is literally just like it lives or something.
Oh, God, I thought that was so good. I was like, oh, Crom, because he's made of a bunch of
Okay,
pieces.
Kian, is it a black card?
Yes.
I
Oh, yeah.
thought that. We're just clarify.
All parts must be used.
Does it cost more than 4 CMC?
Nope.
Okay, so it's probably a good.
I will
black
give you
card.
guys a hint.
No hints.
No hints, no
We're
hints.
narrowing it down.
Okay.
How many colorless
What is it?
pips are in it?
I know it's
Or non-pips, I should say.
There's some black pips in it.
So it's
So it's
4
not
or
Slayer
less.
Pact.
Oh my god,
It's 4 or less. That's all. That's
No,
the
we've
only
already
hint.
clarified that.
That's the
4 or
only hint
less.
I'm giving you.
4 or less.
All parts must be used.
And it's black. Wait, is it
Black's
a
a
black
pip in
card
it.
or is it a
There's
card
a
that
black pip in it.
Is it a
There's
permanent?
a black pip. So it's a dual colored card.
Is it a
I didn't
permanent?
say that.
Is it a permanent?
That's for you to understand.
Oh fuck me.
That's for you to get.
All parts must be used. What would be a black? Oh, it's got a black card. Oh, I feel like it has to
Is
be
it actually a played card? Or
Yes.
So I'm assuming these are always going to be.
These are always
playable
yeah.
cards.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because then I would just pick some random thing from Visions and
Yeah,
no
no
one
one
would
would
get the card.
Oh, this one seems like it should be obvious, but it's not.
Is it played in turbo decks?
Depends on what strategy the turbo deck is going for.
I know what it is. I
What
just
is-
can't
Not
think of
Praetor's
the
Stress.
name.
What does it
we
do?
know
What does
that.
it do?
I'm pretty sure it's a reanimate spell.
Exhume?
No, it's not.
It's not animate dead.
It's a permanent.
It's
It is a permanent.
printed after 2010 is what we know.
Is it Viscerous here?
Nope.
Necromancy?
Nope. Necromancy does not have flavor text.
And is pre 2010. We already. It's
Oh,
2010 and all.
I mean, technically, it got printed on the list.
Vampiric Tutor?
Oh, my dog's freaking out.
No, you said permanent.
Permanent.
Is it a is it a reanimate spell?
Nope.
No.
So it's not.
It's a permanent.
It's a permanent.
Permanent.
It's a creature. And it wasn't Viscerous here. That's what makes
It's
it.
not
weird.
Dorothy Voidwalker, I don't think.
No, it's not Dorothy.
God, this one's rough. Normally Spencer nails it in like 15
I know.
seconds.
I know.
Okay, can we get another hint? I think it's fair to ask for another hint.
Is it a?
It's
is
a
it-
creature.
I was gonna say, is it a creature? Okay.
Okay, it's a creature. Black.
A black
All
creature.
parts must be used.
There's only like
It's
4
not
of those.
Viscerous.
2010
here.
on opposition
Armix?
agent.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Not Armix.
Armix is not turbo-esque.
Okay, fair enough.
Creature. Oh, blood pet.
Nope.
Oh, I thought that would be it. That was so close.
What's a not Dark Confidant, because that one's the classic. What the fuck is played in cEDH? It's a black creature that's 4 or less.
That's a black creature, or that's 4 or less planes.
Notion Thief?
It is very strategy specific.
Notion Thief?
No.
Nope.
Is it? Oh, you said turbo, but you didn't specify. Is it from Turbo Adnos or Turbo Hulk?
Is it?
Does the
I
deck
don't think that's
Is it?
archetype.
Is it 2 colors or more?
I already told you it has a black pip in it.
A
A
black
black
pip
pip.
in it.
1 black pip, not 2, but 1.
What's its
It has
name?
black pips
What's
in
its
it.
name? I know it. It's the fucking zombie.
Icerat?
No.
Oh, carrion feeder.
Nope.
No.
What?
I know what it is.
Stop tapping on the
Spencer's
table.
tap.
Sorry. I know what it is.
What could it be? Well, describe what it does.
I know the art.
Describe the art.
It's like. Is it something assistant? No. Okay. Then I have no idea.
All right, we need another hint.
I already gave you all the hints.
Really?
All right. It has 1 black pip.
One
It is
black
a
pip.
creature,
Does it
and it fits some turbo strategies.
cost 1 or less?
It is 1 black pip. It is a creature, and it fits in
Oh,
some
it
turbo
is
strategy.
1 black pip.
Is-
It
So we
is
already-
1 black pip.
So we already got rid of
not
blood
blood
pet. We already got rid of
Viscerous.
Viscerous here, and we already got rid of
Carrion feeder.
Carrion feeder.
Yep.
What's the black spell that when you cast it and when
It's a
it
creature.
dies, it creates a token that's a 1/1?
No, that's the shambler.
Nesting Shambler.
Nesting shambler.
Nope.
Is it that Stitcher supplier?
Yep.
Holy moly, I got one! Holy shit!
I was gonna say it's played in modern, but I think that's too much. of
That
a
would have given it
giveaway.
away.
I know.
I would have been because I was like, is this playable in modern?
Well, we
It
only
is
got
very
rid of
playable.
every single card in existence before we
Yeah.
got there.
What, is Stitcher
Damn.
supplier played in like an Aller or something? Like
Hermit
what's it?
Druid.
Hermit Druid. Ah, yeah, I
That
can
makes
see that.
sense.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Sorry for everybody that freaking just got their
Hermit
eardrums
Druid and like
Well,
exploded from that freaking excitement, but
it's played in Hermit Druid decks and it's played in non-blue breach decks.
I was going to ask if it was in a blue or non-blue strategy. Because I knew that would be the divider.
That was a rough one.
That was a
Yeah,
rough
dude,
one. That took
Spencer-
us away. That was embarrassing. That was so embarrassing that,
That
it
one
I
took
gave
us
you
out.
guys easy ones. This
Ian,
one was
listen,
kind of fringe.
I know the flavor text of Protean Hulk because it's funny it has eggs.
Yep.
I got Null Rod down, and then
Okay.
I got
We already had that.
specific. I wasn't there for that one.
We gotta
I
watch the episode.
I did watch it. I specifically know the secret lair. Rest in peace with the doggy on it.
Really? That's funny.
That's the only one I know.
Yeah, maybe we can't call ourselves flavor text enjoyers after that one. I
But
can't believe
you can.
We went all the way to Nesting Shambler, but didn't get.
Yeah, it's
Citrus
Citrus
Supplier.
Supplier.
Yeah. All right, and then we have another new segment kind of to round out the episode here. And this one we're going to call Feeding the Fish. So this is a new segment that we're going to try out, and we'd love some feedback on it in the comments if you guys would let us know how you like it. For this segment, we're going to have each one of us here at the table pick a card that we think is undervalued or underplayed in the format of cEDH. And kind of like Shark Tank, we have to feed the fish with why we think that card should be played more.
We have a sales pitch, and then the other people on the cast will critique it.
Yep, so we'll each have 2 minutes to explain why we think a card is underplayed and undervalued, and then after the fish are fed, they will have 3 minutes to fucking roast you about why that's such a bad card.
And there's no back and forth. There's 2 minutes and then 3 minutes. You get to talk for one of them. You don't get to talk for the other one.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be feeding the fish. So who would like to go first?
I'm nominate Kevin.
I'll send it.
All right, so Kevin gets to go first. So
Okay, let me get a timer on the clock so I don't take up more time than I need. We'll go down here, timer. We'll set it to 2 minutes. That's hours. Holy moly.
yeah, we don't want to give you 2 hours to talk.
No.
I'm talking
Longest
about...
Sad Naus episode
you're shorn
ever.
for 2 hours. Okay, my card is Mystic Reflection. It's 1 and a blue, and it's Foretell, and you can cast it for blue once you foretell it. So you can pay 2, and then it's...
This card is so bad I have to look it up.
Look it up, bro. Look it up. This card, I think, has a much better footing in the format than people are giving it. I hear a lot of hype about it, a lot of gas. It is a 2-mana instant speed card that is very similar to Dress Down. You have the opportunity to hose certain creatures, specifically Thoracle, but let's say there's a mana dork on the field, right? You target the mana dork, no matter what creature enters, it enters as a copy and remains a copy of that creature. So if you're going to get hosed by an opposition agent, you're going to get hosed by an oof, whatever, you can pick some do-nothing creature on the field, as long as it's non-legendary. You can bop someone with it. It's cheap interaction. I think it works really well in any control deck. Anything that can abuse it. I'm biggest on this in Tevish Crom. I've been looking at that list more. I like it a lot, and specifically because A, it allows you to retry your Thoracle wins by playing Thoracle, it fails, whatever. Next turn, you can target your Thoracle plus Tevish. You get 2 more fish, you get another shot at winning. It allows you to copy multiple stacks pieces. If you're going to play more tokens, you can target a stacks piece you really like, and you got 3 Dolthy Voidwalkers now because Tevish gave you 2 more. It can be a value piece, control piece, it can answer your problems, it helps with Thoracle wins, hell, it can even stop some breach wins potentially. I don't think it's the strongest card ever, but I think in some lists it belongs, and I argue that if you play Tevish Crom, it deserves a slot. I'm not even taking my full 2 minutes.
So who would like to go first on telling him
I'll
why
go first.
Mystic Reflection
I
is a
will
bad
go
card?
first. All right, to start off, Kevin, you've been hype on this card since its release and spoilers, okay? Then it hasn't been in any of your decks. How can you call a card that you say is good and you haven't at least tested it out?
Imagine playing Foretell in EDH.
And literally, but like you said, you can get back the Thoracle, right? But that's through like a Breach lands or Yagua lands. Wouldn't you just want to win when you play Breach anyways, instead of play this spell that says, "Oh, I'm gonna replay my Thoracle and create copies"? Yeah, that's cute.
No, it's not replay or create copies. You choose a target creature. So, like, say you went for Thoracle and you already lost. Or not that you already lost. You play Thoracle and you already got stopped. If you have the other piece in your hand, like Tainted Pack or Consult, you Mystic Reflection your Thoracle. It enters as a copy. So now you have a new Thoracle trigger, and then you Consult on top. I understand where you're coming from, Kevin, but I think that it's like a very, very niche spell to fill that kind of spot.
I still have my 3 minutes on the stand.
No, we don't each get 3 minutes. We share 3 minutes.
I still have my 3 minutes on the stand.
You know, I mean...
No, I get what he's saying, though, but, like...
It's niche.
It is very niche. And, like, there's other avenues for you to win, not just replaying, like, the Thoracle. But I do get where you're coming from, like, oh, choose a create a copy.
Yeah. Plus, if your thing is like, oh, if they stop my Thoracle, who stops the Thoracle, not the Consultation? Who doesn't stop the Tainted Pact instead?
No, you want the Thoracle to be stopped. You don't want the Thoracle to be stopped. They stop the Consult. Your Thoracle enters and it's scryed. Mystic Reflection is like an ephemerate. You re-get the ETB. That's what Mystic Reflection is for. So if Thoracle's on the battlefield and is sitting there, you choose any other creature you control. It's a copy of Thoracle, and it gets another ETB trigger.
Oh, it's an instant.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
So then,
Still 2 mana, it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has usefulness, right? Copying another opposition agent, copying another Dalthy, copying this or copying that. It definitely has its usefulness. The foretell cost, it doesn't do a whole lot for me. Like, you can cast it later, I guess. But I think that it's got usefulness. It's a $10 card, and it's a $10 card for a reason. I just don't think it's underplayed. I think there's a reason why people don't play it, because, like, it's not the best copy spell that's out there.
I mean, it's in a $1 card.
Mystic Reflection is not $1.
TCG player, full art Mystic Reflection, $1.37.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I traded this in for $8 not that long ago. I thought it was still like a $10 card.
No.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing though is you have to play another creature. So like that's the downside to it. So you Mystic Reflection, then you have to play a Ragavan, or you have to play something else that's low CMC that's going to enter as that creature anyways. And it
Or
takes
in Kevin's case, a mana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like if you're trying to stop someone else's Thoracle, but there's not any other creatures out, it's just sitting there, and you're like, man, it was so close.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's niche, I'd say. But
Time.
yeah, that's our time for Mystic Reflection. Kian, what is your card for Feeding the Fish?
I don't have a card, but a concept that ties in some.
Well, that's not the
No,
segment.
I
so pick a card. In
no,
the
I
concept.
do have cards, but it's more of a
Timer on the
concept card.
stack. Pass priority.
All right, so Strip Mine Wasteland.
Oh, land destruction.
Why don't I see more land destruction in less like mono or like bi-colored stack strategies? Because like I've been playing. This may seem niche or not niche, but cute. But like I've been playing a lot of like Legacy Depths, and like hosing that one person on a color source is just more influential, because like you take away their lands. Yes, the counterpoint is I'm just playing artifacts. That's what cEDH is. I play Dockside, I win. But what if they don't have that? What if I have a Null Rod out, and like in most stack strategies, like especially green based, you have a oof out, or you have a green sun package to get the oof out. Also in green based stack strategies, why not play Life from the Loam? It's literally such a good card engine or card advantage engine that you can just start regrowing Strip Mines. Land destruction. And I know, like, from, like, ROG, if I'm, like, I need the lands. I need the colored pips. Because most artifacts are, like, Soul Ring, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt, like, colorless effects. Like, you don't have a mobile Amber taps for stuff, like, only your commanders can produce Holy Shadow. But land destruction takes away those, like, Strip Mine Wasteland takes away those pips. And with people being less or more greedy and running no basic lands, why don't we see more like Feel the Ruins? Bam.
You got like another minute to explain.
I rest my case.
You rest your
He
case?
rests his case.
I'll dive in on this first.
You can clap his cheeks first.
Yeah, land destruction, especially single targeted land destruction, sucks in this format. If no one is playing green, what land are you going to target? Because unless you're blowing up a Gaia's Cradle, it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, for one, if people are fetching responsibly, like, they're going to be able to tap in response to your Wasteland. They're going to be able to get the mana that they need. Most people only need the mana for one turn anyways most of the time, because they're going to be going for it. I just don't think land destruction really has a place. If you're playing like a stacks deck, sure, you could argue with me that land destruction can like have a place there. But there's just not enough lands to target unless you're specifically trying to target someone's color identity on the table.
I think you also put yourself in a relatively weird position compared to the other two players, where you and one other player goes down a land while the other two players are completely unaffected. I think as far as like trading resources goes in a 4-player game, it doesn't feel as strong as a 1v1. Because you brought up, in Legacy, it feels great wiping out their lands. Well, yeah, it's the only person you're playing against.
Is that why your card is going to be Arcane Denial?
Speaking
Stop ruining it. It's my
about making
turn.
Bryce salty, I'll give Kian a little bit of credit here. I saw Bryce lose the game to a Strip Mine. It was in a tournament, and a guy stripped his UC. He kept a one-lander, didn't get his second lands, and he went, "Oh, okay, bud, thanks." And he lost the game because of it. Now, is Strip Mine a good card? Not in 4-player formats. I think the reason no one plays it is because the commander doesn't exist to make it good, right? If Lord Gwengrace were 3 mana and not 5 mana, fuck yeah, sign me up. If I could play, Ren and 6 as my commander, yeah, I'd strip your dick all day. Fucking no rod, strip.
Not even that, like Golos, if you could like get your Strip Mine at any time and then hit it when you need it, sure, play it in that deck. But guess what? that commander's fucking banned.
Yeah,
okay.
who the fuck is playing Sylvan Scrying? AJ.
I think that I think that those land destruction cards have value, right? And I think like maybe in a certain deck they could be played. I think they're played just about as much as they should be, though. I don't think that they're underplayed very, very much at all.
That's basically where I'm at. It's the same problem that Thoughtseize has. You know how badly I want to Thoughtseize people on turn 1, but unfortunately, it only hits one hand. I want to have a Thoughtseize that hits all 3 hands, and I can't get a Thoughtseize, so you can't get a Strip Mine.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, and I like your explanation, Spencer, of like going down in card advantage. I don't want to spend my land drop getting rid of someone else's land. I want to spend a land drop on advancing my board state, and especially in a format where you're like a lot of decks are running like 27, 28, 29 lands. Every land is valuable, so you can't really dedicate a slot. Maybe if people were playing Wasteland as a spell slot and not a land slot, then I'd be more into it. But it's a land, and you have to play it like a land.
Realistically, I love Loam too. I love Loam stripping people, but like it's just too hard in this format when you're trying to go fast.
All right, and I think that's our time.
I have one thing.
Nope,
to say.
you said your piece. You said your piece. That's how feeding the fish works.
You can use your time.
No.
Bitching about Spencer's cards.
No.
Yes.
I just want to say I brought up this topic because is stripping someone taking them out of game king making. That's why. That's why I wanted to bring it
circle,
up.
Eh?
Spencer.
So I have to. My card that I play that isn't good, but I think is good. Okay, Counterbalance. That's my big thing. I love Counterbalance. I play that in my Toxrill deck, and it's the argument that I can make for it is for a 2-mana investment, which is for on par for cEDH. 1 mana is the best counterspell investment that you can have. For 2 mana, you can 2-for-1 multiple players. You can shut down entire turns. Let's say if someone's trying to do a breach play where they need LED, they're not going to have LED anymore if there's even a land on top of your deck, anything with 0 mana. You can shut players' turns down. You can keep your own turns safe just by having it on the field and begging your opponents to interact. And then, look, flip the top card of my deck. It's a 1-drop. And a lot of decks in cEDH all have very similar mana values. Most decks are 1 through 3, so Counterbalance at least should be hitting multiple cards a game. It's not going to be the best card in your deck, but when you have a card in your deck in a situation that you need to slow the game down, that's going to be one of the better cards to do it, especially compared to a normal counter spell. You don't have the same resources with one counter spell to stop multiple players on the board in the way that you can with a Counterbalance. It's asymmetrical. You can shut down multiple cards that they're trying to do. You might even shut a player's whole turn down with the use of Counterbalance. I think it's underplayed. It's also like, if it's that bad in your hand too, it's a force of will target. You just exile it from your hand, use it for a force, and it threatens people just by being on the board. Like, for example too, if someone's playing Rograk and they play their Rograk, it's countered because you have a land on top of your deck. Yeah, I'm looking at the faces you're making. That's why I said it. It gives me fuel in my fire. But, yeah, Counterbalance is my card. Yeah.
All right. Starting off, Spencer, who put you on that card in cEDH?
You did.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gatekeeping Counterbalance right now?
No, I'm not gatekeeping.
Is gatekeeping Kingmaker?
Actually, I think he's agreeing with me.
I am
Shut
agreeing
your
with you. I
fucking
like
mouth,
Counterbalance. I think it's a good card.
Yeah, Spencer is objectively correct. I'm investing.
I have 2
Wait, you
players
guys-
that
Shut your
agree with
mouth.
me.
You guys are all for Counterbalance?
I'm for Counterbalance because I think it's an incredible stacks piece. It's a value piece. I have literally never had a game where I had Counterbalance and Ristic out that I did not single-handedly 1v3 shit on people. I felt like Nicole Bolas, bro. Every time you go Ristic and they say, yeah, you can draw it. Counterbalance? Yeah. Oh, I countered it? Okay, cool. I'm going to reb the Counterbalance. Can I draw? Yeah. Counterbalance? It's a 1. Fuck! Every time.
We play a 100-card singleton format, and dedicating a slot to Counterbalance as a control piece, in my opinion, is just not very optimal play. If you're in a deck that's like built around it, that can slot it in very easily, like say a Nala who's already running top and already has top deck manipulation, or not a Nala.
I was going to say
Elsha. I meant Elsha, not a Nala. Yeah, Elsha, where you already have top deck manipulation, you already run Sensei's Divining Top. Sure, throw Counterbalance in there because what the fuck do you care anyways? But like I was on Counterbalance top. I was on Counterbalance in Jessica Ishai when I had a control shell. I played it a ton. It underperforms constantly, dude. You never have the card on top that you want on top. You don't have enough spells. You don't have enough consistency in the format to manipulate the top of your deck in the way that you want to consistently play it. And all it does is it makes the person next to you in turn order, it sucks for them because they have to be the one to reveal your counterbalance trigger every time, and then everybody else at the table just plays around it.
That's the angle shooting. That's my point, though. I have never resolved a counterbalance and not seen fucking despair. The only more despair I've seen is turn 1 Yasharn. Anything other than that, people go, I don't want to crack the counterbalance.
The best part about the counterbalance is that it stops the spell that you didn't want to stop. But as soon as you need it to stop a spell, it's never the card that you flip.
Maybe you should get better luck. Disagree.
Yeah, you're correct.
I've been both on the
luck.
giving and the receiving end of just randomly flipping a counterbalance. Hey, guess what? Your spell's countered. I didn't have any counter spells in hand, but you lose now.
Yeah.
Kian and I are Chad fucking counterbalance bisexual.
I would rather play that stupid artifact that you play in Magda that you tap 2 and tap
No
it.
broach.
I'd rather no broach somebody than counterbalance them.
I'm just telling you, I've had counterbalance happen so many times where player 1 left of me will crack it, and then nothing will happen, and then Kian's like, why isn't a fucking land?
Literally. And like, that is funny, but like, you can't even be mad because it's like, bro, it's luck. You let the spell resolve.
Let me put it this way. I have never cast a spell in cEDH ever that has come close to getting me as good as the 17 for 1 I got a few weeks ago.
That was bullshit.
All right, so finally...
On to you.
Yep, for Feeding the Fish, we are on to my card. And my card that I'm picking for Feeding the Fish is going to be Final Fortune. I think that Final Fortune is criminally underpaid in cEDH. I played in Jessica Ishai, and the reason why I played in Jessica Ishai is because it's a part of a win condition with Spellseeker. That, after playing with it, I've realized that it's more than just a card that's a win condition. It is essentially a ritual, in my opinion. So, how many times do you play a turbo deck or a turbo strategy where you draw 40 cards and you get to the point where you're running out of mana and you just wish that you had a dramatic reversal or another way to untap all your permanents and win the game? If I could just untap, I could win. If I just had one more turn, I could win the game. Well, guess what? Final Fortune is that turn for you. And it basically, with all the red rituals that you run in turbo decks, with all the ways that you can produce red mana, with all the things like that, sometimes you just need to untap to get there. If someone has a... what's the spell that artifacts come into play tapped?
There's several. There's
Root
Root
Maze, Kismet, whatever. If you drop a Dockside and you gain 12 treasures, man, if you just had one more turn, you'd have 12 mana to do something. Well, if you only have 2 mana open, Final Fortune will get you there because all your treasures untap on your next turn. The whole, if you lose the game on the next turn, if you don't win the game on your next turn, you lose the game with Final Fortune, right? Well, if you win the game before that, you never lose, right? So I just find it to be just as useful as something like a dramatic reversal, except you don't have to dedicate 2 slots to it because with dramatic reversal, you're always going to run ISO stick. So I think Final Fortune is just criminally underplayed. It's at instant speed. You can take a turn right after somebody else's turn, even if it wasn't going to be your turn. I think it's just criminally underplayed and criminally undervalued in this format. I think there's a lot of instances where stealing a turn from somebody, say I know that this person's going to win on their turn. Well, guess what? At the player before them's end stepped, I'm going to play Final Fortune. And now I get a turn before you.
Okay, I think we're ready to go.
Yep.
Kian, do you want to open?
Yeah. Adam, I don't know how many times I've seen you lose because you've cast Final Fortune. You always fuck it up in some way. Every time you cast Final Fortune, I'm like, I have a chance of winning now. It's not even that you have a chance of winning. It's because you somehow didn't do something correctly in Spellseeker lines or something that you just lose. All right.
Let me put it this way. I'm with Kian, but I'm also with Adam. Final Fortune is the strongest card. Yep. It just doesn't fucking work for some reason.
Yep.
I don't know why. It's a goddamned instant speed time walk.
Yep.
Oh, you lose the game. That does not matter if you play it right. Yep. But I have never gotten to work. I played it in Najila, it fucking flopped. I played it in Kenny, it fucking flopped. Yep. Every time I saw it, I was like, I can take another turn after this. They're gonna Naus, and there's gonna be 5 counterspells in the stack, and I'm gonna get to go funny, haha. And my turn never worked.
I've definitely gotten it to work in Goda, where I'm like, dang, I'm at 10 mana. but I have one more. Oh yeah, Final Fortune 11, and then it just took the game. So like, I would agree with Final Fortune, but I do think like
it's hard to fucking find a spot, man.
Yeah, and I don't want to put it on the thing against Animal. It's like, well, yeah, you do it a bunch of times and you lose. Well, when you do it on the times and you win, it feels insanely.
Bro, I've played Thoracle Consult and fucking lost a lot. Is it bad? Should I pull it from my deck? No. I think Final Fortune is a very, very particular card that only certain decks can play.
Yeah, and there's only specific turns you can play it, right? Because, like, let's say, oh, I have an extra turn spell that I can only cast at one point because if I for sure don't win, I'm going to lose for sure.
Yeah, I just think it's hard. Like, it's a good card. It's just hard to find a spot for it in the decks that.
Because like when you're trying to win fast, dedicating 2 mana to a card that isn't technically doing anything this turn. Like you've got 3 mana and a bunch of rituals.
Yeah.
You can't really ritual Final Fortune. You have to Final Fortune and then hope that that one extra land helps you get there, so that the next turn it's a hard card to play. Mm-hmm. I love Final Fortune, but every time I would put it in, and I'd be so excited. I would draw it, and then I would take it out the next Sunday.
Yeah,
every time.
Wish it was any other card.
I wish I hadn't spent $19 on it.
Yeah.
They're that expensive now?
Fucking right, bro. The foil one's like $700.
Yeah, 7.
I know
Adam's
7th edition. Though.
Eventually, I'll get
different.
one.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm good, Spencer.
Yeah.
That was our fastest roast yet. Not even roasting.
Well, I mean, you guys mostly agreed with me, so
it was a braise, really. It was a light simmer.
So yeah, guys. So that was feeding the fish. I kind of had fun with that. It was pretty cool.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah. All right. So
moving to
nobody fucking paid for mine.
Moving to end step. Couple things just wanted to say real quick as we bring this episode to a close. Make sure you check us out on our check us out on our Discord. Like, subscribe. All bullshit YouTube
algorithm nonsense.
Copy paste.
Say you love us in the comments.
We are going to be on we are on Spotify. We're going to be on Apple Music within. Like
Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts.
We're not gonna be making jams.
We're making
on
jams.
Apple.
I don't know, Poppy.
Yo,
Bing bong.
Yo, do you love cEDH? Yeah,
yo. Support us at Patreon if you feel inclined. You will be paying the one if you join us on Patreon.
For Patreon, we're a small group of dudes. We have fun. We play this. We're not looking to cash out and make it big. We want to buy a camera so we can play gameplay videos, frankly. So if you can help us, we'd love to make more content for you. We're all poor. We would like to help get there and do what we can to help make more good stuff for you guys to consume. And
in all honesty, if we get Patreon money, it will literally be going back to the community because we will be doing giveaways through our Patreon. And if you join our Discord, you can play with us Sundays. We have game day, and we're going to be starting giveaways soon. So I think with that, that's everything that we wanted to cover here. Like, subscribe, join the Discord, and make sure you look out for us on your favorite YouTube channels. We may be doing collabs. I know Adam's been a very busy boy.
Yeah.
Go into places.
There's some things that are in the works right now that if you guys, some very popular channels in the community, if you keep an eye out and look out for our name, you're going to see us a lot more often, and you're going to see us participating in a lot more in the community as a whole. So just keep an eye out for that and get excited and hype us up. Promote our name. Send it to your favorite content creators and say, hey, check these guys out, because we would love to make more content with other people in the community.
Yeah.
We think that we have some opinions that other people might value, or just some personalities that other people might enjoy. So, don't be afraid to spread the word about Sad Naus. Because your support is what keeps us going.
And we love you for that.
You don't know how much I want to see Cam Jam get friggin' turn 1 Naus by Kean over here.
And lose?
We gotta live up to the name somehow.
No! Alright, yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, all the other stuff.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, miss you, bye.
Peace out.
We'll see you guys next week with our episode on the DDB update. Yeah. All right.
Fun.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Deuces.